think it's going now. Good evening, base campers. I don't really know where this one's going completely. It might just be kind of a stream of consciousness effort, but I'm driving back from one of my job sites that are going on right now, and headed back home, kind of. And just had a really cool day, had a lot of neat thoughts. Just spending a lot more time getting back to reading and doing podcasts and things like that. And one of the books I was given by a trusted friend, Nick, thank you, is a daily reminders kind of book, 365 pages sort of thing. You get the idea. And I was reading that this morning, and the daily reminder, the one-page daily reminder today was basically the in my own words takeaway for it was attitude of gratitude, which is a big thing. I mean, no matter how bad things get, at the end of the day, you really did win life's lottery if you were born and were raised in America. So even if you think you have great big problems, you just, compared to everyone else in the world, you just don't. Just being here, even if you're poor, you're still in like the top 1/100th richest people in the world, just economically. So there's that. And then I just had several reminders throughout the day of maintaining that attitude. And I'm sorry to not be looking at the camera, but I don't want to hear it from Ben or, somebody like him about doing this while I'm driving. But, it's kind of like having the radio on. I push one button and here we go. But yeah, I mean, almost as I was reading it in the hotel room, or in the hotel lobby, actually, it was after I had breakfast, I heard this repetitive, knocking sound. It was really annoying. It sounded kind of like when somebody has a rollaway bag and they're rolling it over tile. And it just kept happening, and it was starting to annoy me. And then after a while, I realized it was the really sweet little Filipino lady making my breakfast and making more bacon for me, which I ate, by the way, and enjoyed it. But that just reminded me. I was just like, here I am getting bent out of shape about that. And I had several more instances throughout the day where I was reminded of that. I mean, it's a lot like going to your refrigerator and just being bent out of shape because, you don't have room in your refrigerator to put all the stuff that's in your hands. And then you always have to check yourself right then because you're like, oh, okay, my refrigerator's too full. All right. So I had that kind of a day happening already, and just starting the day with what I did was really good. But then something else really cool happened, and it was this, okay? So one of the podcasts that I've been really attached to, I actually listened to just this constant stream of his podcast while I was puttying this climbing gym, like an entire climbing gym. I put all the putty in the seams today. Yeah, so I was up on the lift, mostly by myself, people coming and going. In fact, that was a really cool part of the day too, was just how I took the time to just talk with people who I had not ever met and who had really cool stories, and just focused on listening to them and making time for that conversation, and just starting to see that stuff really is where it's at. And of course you always know these things, but it's hard to practice some of these things. But yeah, Jim Kwik is the guy I've been listening to the most. And look, I have less patience than probably anybody for the variety of self-help books and podcasts where it's like, you can achieve anything if you just believe, and, name it to claim it, and all this kind of stuff. And I hate all that stuff, honestly. If it's just cheerleading, it's powder puff fluff, and I don't like any of that stuff. So just know first that I'm filtering anything that I tell you guys about through that really almost cynical, skeptical, I would just say skeptical filter. What's the difference? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Cynical. Okay, so skeptical is good. That means that you take things with a grain of salt. That means that you don't just accept something because political party that you like the best said it. You're skeptical, right? Cynical, I think, goes beyond that to where even after you've seen a good explanation for something, you still are entrenched. And you're also seeing the worst in everything all the time. And you see a lot of that today, cynicism, where people don't worship heroes anymore, right? A Neil Armstrong or something like that today, I mean, dang, they're just as likely to say that guy ate too much ice cream, or that, he was not really nice to his dog, maybe because he's a cat person. I don't know. He probably wasn't, because he was Neil Armstrong. He was probably a dog person. I just don't know the answer to that. But you get where I'm going. I mean, cynicism and skepticism are two different things. So I don't quite reach that level with my skepticism on self-help stuff and motivational stuff, but there are some people I really like. And this guy, Jim Kwik, is just my new favorite, until I find another one. And he talks about all my other favorites too. So I mean, we're on the same page as far as all that goes as well. But one of the many things he talked about today on one of his podcasts was just how, as a 9-year-old, he was riding his bike in his neighborhood, and so first of all, he had a traumatic brain injury when he was 5. Actually 3 TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, that really affected his learning ability. It took him 4 years to read. I mean, he was embarrassed to read and always was self-conscious about it when he was in school. And now he's like this incredible brain health speaker who's just this all-time expert on how the brain functions and things that you can do to make your brain function better, which I need desperately, by the way, especially nowadays. But of all the things, every 30 seconds, every 5 seconds, this guy says something and he's a memory master too, something he's obviously got memorized to a T, but not in a rote way. He knows these concepts that he either has read about or talks about, and it's all gold every time he says one of these things. And so all of that was really cool. But what struck me the most today was just how he was talking about riding his bike when he was 9 years old, because he talks very openly about the fact that he taught himself to read by reading comic books, and he thought they were very interesting. They had enough emotional content for him that it motivated him to learn to read. So he was very addicted to comic books, almost immediately. And that's something that stayed with him all of his life. And he said that, he really liked the X-Men. And the X-Men, their academy, their school for gifted children or unusual children, I really don't know their story that well, but supposedly that was set in his neighborhood where he grew up. So here he is as a 9-year-old. He said he rode his bike every day, like looking for the X-Men Academy. And I just, something about that, because I have a 9-year-old at home, just struck me. And for some reason, and I just went on a bike ride with Jonathan last week, and he wrecked his bike, which he just rolled right out of it because he's a ninja who's grown up in a climbing gym and has been doing jiu-jitsu, for 3.5 years or something. So I was super proud of him on that note, but I was just thinking about him riding his bike with Daddy through the neighborhood in his R2-D2 helmet. It looks like R2-D2. It's got the little thing. It looks like a microscope lens, like sticking out right here. It's awesome. And he's missing his 2 front teeth right now. He just lost his second one, and it's 3 months before Christmas. So, he's going to get to sing that song this year. He's got both front teeth missing, not from the bike wreck, just for the record, Grammy, in case you're watching. But I gotta tell you, I was alone in the gym, and just the coolness of that little world that these guys live in, these 9-year-olds, it just hit me like a Mack truck, and I just stopped what I was doing, and I literally just kind of went to a knee and just broke down a little bit for a minute, just thinking about their little world and how short that lasts. And it just dovetailed right in with what I was reading about that morning about attitude of gratitude. And between being an American and even with all the craziness going on right now, we're going to come out of it. We are. But even with all that, being an American, having a little guy like Jonathan running around in his little 9-year-old world, and then David, who's 11, and just awesome in all of his own ways that are so independent. I just love that he's his own little man that way. Just made me think of that. And so just for the record, attitude of gratitude, watch Jim Quick. He's amazing, and I know you're going to agree. As soon as you watch him, he's going to add to your life every 5-minute period that you watch one of his podcasts. And then you start binge watching the other ones, because they're the same enough but different enough every time that they're just worth continuing on for a half a day like I did. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'll discover, but I just discovered him a couple days ago. But watch that stuff. Like here, subscribe here, share here would be great too. And try to get some more base campers out there. I haven't really pushed this blog all that hard, but I don't even know how, to be honest. I'm just learning this stuff. As you can tell by the composition here that we're just going with. I'm not trying to put too much into it in terms of trying to make it too manicured, obviously. But it's the content that matters. And I'm just really focused on that content these days. And I hope you guys are experiencing some of that too. I haven't even looked at the screen very much. Okay, there's my eyes, for what that's worth. And look, I hope you guys all have a very good weekend, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon, either here at base camp or elsewhere.